I'm a killer, bring it back.
What up, fuckers? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Guys We Fucked.
It's the anti-slut-shaming podcast. I'm Corinne Fisher.
I'm Krystyna Hutchinson.
Live dates, theaters, Krystyna Hutchinson, myself. There's 2 cities on the slate and where there's going to be more coming. So the first one is happening in Atlanta, Georgia, Saturday, September 10th. We're going to be co-headlining the Center Stage Theater in Atlanta.
Yep.
All right. And then Saturday, September 24th, Norwalk, Connecticut.
Where you at?
Wall Street Theater, Krystyna Hutchinson and myself co-headlining.
Yeah.
Get your tickets now. This is not like other shows where you just, come in and you get scatter seating. You're picking your seats. There's different kinds of levels. So depending on where you want to be in the theater, if you want to be close to us, if you think we smell, you want to be far away from us.
Yeah.
Pick your seats now.
Your body, your choice.
These are very important shows and we hope to see you there. It's going to be a very fun time.
Yeah. It's going to be interactive. You're going to see brand new stand-up from us, and it's going to be one of the best nights of your life. I'm going to say it.
Yep, absolutely.
And then follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/Guys We Fucked without the U and fucked. That's also our social media handle across all the platforms, including TikTok, because there is so much free content, including full episodes of Guys We Fucked on there for you to watch. And we're really proud of it. So watch it and rate it and review it, and make sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts and submit a review. All that fun shit.
We appreciate it. I know you guys are like, oh, no homework again, but
every time we're going to give you homework, and just do it.
There's homework for everything in life,
and we appreciate it. And if you want to email us, it's sorryaboutlastnightshow@gmail.com. Make sure that subject line, describes the situation we're about to dive into. Today's subject line: my dad's a narcissist and I haven't had sex in 2 years. Girl, get that dick. Hi, Corinne and Krystyna. I'm a relatively new fucker, but I've been a dumb bitch for years. I started listening to the show about a year ago and have been hooked ever since. I've recommended the show to all my friends, and I even watched Krystyna in London. It was great. I'm so grateful for all the laughs you bring and all the important work that you do. Thank you. Now, on to the good stuff. I'm 27 years old, living in London, and I haven't had sex in 2 years. The last person I had sex with, let's call him Joe, was a friends with benefits situation that ended with no friends and no benefits. We were part of the same friendship group at university and would go out to the same places, get drunk, come home, have sex. The sex was drunk and messy, and I often didn't remember it the next day. We seldom had sex when we were sober, but when we did, I enjoyed it, I think. He was basically mute the entire time, and it kind of weirded me out. That does not sound like a fun situation.
Yeah, that's so strange. Please make some kind of a sound, even if it's ow.
Yeah, or
my
like
back.
Or just like a something, a sigh, anything.
Yeah, girl.
You got this, girl. Overall, it was a horrible situation. I liked him more than he liked me, which why? And I never felt that I could ask for more in case I risked ending the whole thing altogether.
Yeah,
with someone you didn't even like.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to end this okay sex.
Barely okay.
God forbid this
funny?
silent serial killer sex we're having might come to an end.
Yeah, and that would just gut me. It went on for five years.
That's
until
so much quiet time. I love quiet time.
Yeah. Until one day he got a girlfriend and things between us ended abruptly. He wasn't particularly nice, and so in hindsight, it was a blessing that nothing more ever happened. Although Joe was never right for me, I have a history of choosing disinterested men, and I think that Joe was a breaking point. My confidence in my ability to make good choices has significantly diminished, and I feel like I'm stuck in a big old sexless rut where I don't want to stay, but I'm afraid to leave. I've tried the apps and I've found that I strongly dislike them. They feel so impersonal, and I've dreaded the few dates that I've forced myself to go on. I feel myself recoiling at the idea of getting close to anyone, and I feel deflated when I think of trying to date again. I'm typically the type of person who gets to know somebody well before having sex with them, and so one night stand feels very far out of my comfort zone. But I miss having sex so much. I feel like I've shut off this big part of myself and can't help but feel that I'm wasting a part of my life. To give you some more context, my dad is a narcissist and was emotionally and physically abusive to my mom. He bullied my brother throughout his childhood and was prone to volatile outbursts that kept us all on edge. Thankfully, my parents finally split up in 2020. Well, took them long enough. It took a long time for my mom to get a place where she felt strong enough to leave him, and it's been tough coming to terms with how terribly she was treated. Well, good for your mom. I'm glad she found the strength. She kept the abuse a secret from me and my brother for years. I can't fathom how hard that was for her. I stopped speaking to my dad at the beginning of this year, and I'm only just beginning to see the effects of his bullying and abuse. I think that as a result, I have a general mistrust of men and am scared of opening up to someone who might mess up my life, hurt me, misunderstand me, or take advantage of me. Coupled with my history of poor choices, I feel at a loss. I would love to hear your insights on all of this. How do I open myself up to dating again when I feel like all the men in my life have let me down? I'm not looking for the love of my life. I just want to fuck someone again. Thank you for all that you guys do. A loyal, sexless fucker. Well, there's a lot of layers going on here. I hope you're in therapy, because I think an emotionally abusive parent, and to watch what happened to your mom, that has to be really trying on you. And the thing is, you have to keep reminding yourself that the past is the past, and that you need to rebuild trust with yourself and with your choices. And I say, start small. First, I would say meditation is a really great tool. I'll never not recommend meditation for pretty much everybody who writes into this podcast and every human on this earth, because it gives you stillness and it gives you time to reflect on yourself. But you can also use meditation to figure out what type of relationship you want, whether that's sexual or romantic or both. Don't sell yourself short, because your imagination, you could think of anything you want, right? So I would say slowly rebuild your reputation with yourself back up again, because that's going to give you the confidence and self-esteem that will get you to a good place to be dating. And do stuff like setting small goals. I don't know if your nutrition habits could use some work, or your exercising. Pick an area of your life that has nothing to do with dating, and find small ways that you can rebuild and improve that area of your life, and you're gonna build confidence within yourself. For me, quitting cigarette smoking, oh my God, it was such a huge self-esteem booster. Quitting Adderall, that was an even bigger one, because that was a really tough drug to quit. But if there's anything in your life that you've wanted to give up, that's a really great way to build efficacy with yourself. And I think once you have that, I would focus on building back horniness, like what turns you on, or getting to know yourself in that way. What turns you on now might not be what turned you on, 5 years ago. So kind of rediscovering your sex drive with yourself, and then doing something that will help build your self-esteem, I think is going to get a good base for you.
And also the sentence that really jumps out at me in this email, I always feel like there's kind of like one sentence that jumps out that really kind of tells me how you're feeling as the writer. Is you say, how do I open myself up to dating again when I feel like all the men in my life have let me down? You're putting all the responsibility on like the other people in your life have done something to you. And I mean, that's just kind of like the vibe that's going around in society right now. Like someone did something to me and I'm recovering from it. And
that's giving your power away.
And while I do absolutely think that's true with the relationship with your father, and there should be a lot more give in a relationship with a parent. And that's why the relationship with parents are unique, because it is a lot more them giving to you and you receiving, rather than a reciprocal give and take as it is in romantic relationships. Even though like you dated like losers, you fucked this guy for 5 years, like he didn't let you down so much as you let yourself down in that relationship. You said he wasn't nice. The sex wasn't that good. He seemed disinterested. So you acknowledge all these things, and yet you continued to be in a relationship with him or some kind of a relationship, not a exclusive relationship. You continued to interact with him for 5 years. So I think it's also important to clarify who is what when someone is letting you down and when you are letting yourself down, because letting yourself down is actually a lot more important of a thing to acknowledge than other people letting you down. Other people will always let you down because other people's standards for living and things that they want and criteria for themselves is different than your criteria is for yourself and how other people should behave. It took me a long time to not hold other people to the standards that I hold myself to, because that's not how they want to live. But I would like to, if I have a partner in the future, I want that partner to be someone who also, like myself, holds themselves to a very high standard. But that's not for me to determine. That's for them to determine and for us to find one another. So I think that's super important. And also I think you're kind of just like overthinking sex a little bit, as people often do. And I think a little, especially women more than men. You're talking about like, you don't want to have a one night stand, but you don't need to meet the love of your life. Well, there's a ton of space in between those two things. And I think that would be really well suited for you now. Because I am pretty detached. I am not always detached, but I can have emotionally detached sex with little to no issue. But I also don't like one night stands. It just feels foreign and weird and not comfortable for me. So maybe like get to know someone, whether it be like a friend that you could explore something more with that without fucking up the friendship, or just like go on a couple dates with someone and then have sex with them. Like that's not giving someone so much time, but like you're gonna like part of letting people into your life is being open to the fact that you might be disappointed and hurt again. And there's no book you can read, no TED Talk you can watch, no tactic you can learn, no therapy session you can have that will take that away. That's one of the elements of existence.
Yeah, and the best tool that you can have in your tool belt is recognizing that when you get to know somebody, they might prove themselves to be somebody that you don't want to be in a relationship with, to have an exit plan when that happens. Because people are going to show you who they are. That's what dating is all about. And sometimes you get to a point where you're like, oh, this isn't working for me. And that's not the way they treat you is not personal, even though it feels personal. And it's like Corinne said, whenever we're with somebody that treats us like shit and we're so heartbroken over it, we're really heartbroken over us doing this to ourselves, over us not leaving the situation. That's really where that stems from. So.
Right. And like when you want to think about it, like, okay, so what's your goal here? Your goal is you want to have sex. So it's just like to reach that goal of having sex, like maybe you're getting like, the more you get to know someone, the more opportunities they have to disappoint you and let you down. So like if all you're looking for is sex, like what are the things you actually need to clear? You need to clear that they're a safe person as far as like sexually safe, but also safe to be alone with, not going to fucking kill you, not going to be abusive or outwardly cruel to you, kind of dependable, not going to talk badly about your body. Like you don't need that many things. So I think like maybe two interactions with someone, you can get that information. And especially if you're going to only be having sex with them, you're not going to be in a long-term relationship. Like they're probably not going to let out all their bad qualities unless they're absolute psychopath. Yeah. So again, like it's just like you don't need this excessive amount of information for the goal that you are trying to reach. So save yourself some time and energy.
Yeah, girl, you got this.
Yeah. Guys, that email was so much better the second time around.
We gave better advice. I'm
less distracted.
Yeah, Mike was like fucking tinkering, falling over. Mics were falling. Things were dropping. We're waiting for our guests to get here. We have one opportunity to record for her because she doesn't live in the state.
Studio got melted during the New York City heat wave. It was a real fuck up.
Listen, that's why I was like, I wasn't terribly brokenhearted that got lost the first time, because I was like, was not our best work. Was not our best.
And guys, in addition to come seeing us live in Atlanta, Georgia, and Norwalk, Connecticut, where we're co-headlining, Corinne Fisher is headlining herself in Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Tell them about it, Corinne.
Yes. So if you're listening to this today on Friday, tomorrow, Saturday, July 30th, I'm doing one night, one show in Pittsburgh at the Bottle Rocket Social Hall. A bunch of tickets are already sold out. So it might be sold out by now, but if not, definitely grab a ticket. Pittsburgh is a place that you've been asking us to come for a long time. And I was able to get one show there. It's apparently not a big comedy city, but I'm always happy to go to my love, Andy Warhol's birthplace. And then Cleveland, Ohio, Friday, August 26th and Saturday, August 27th, I am headlining Hilarities, and I'm bringing the incredible Wendy Steiner with me as my feature, who I love so much. So that's going to be a great show. Get tickets. They're all at CorinneFisher.com or in the Linktree link in the bio of my Instagram at PhilanthropyGal. And then if you're not in any of these cities, you can, of course, always listen to me and Shane Smith roast the news and talk about Matt Gaetz and how women's rights are being taken away.
What a piece of fucking shit.
I mean, if there's ever a time to be invested in the news, I gotta say, especially for women, now is the absolute time. There's been a tweet floating around that was kind of like I think it's Jenna Friedman, who's been on the show before, a great comedian. And it said 2016, I was, wondering if I would have a female president, and it's 2022, like losing all my rights.
Yeah.
I'm not
truly.
It's written better than that, but I mean, when you see that,
it's wild.
When you see that in writing, you were just like, motherfucker.
I mean, it's weird that the Republican Party, like, they used to be pro-abortion too, like back like decades ago. But the Matt Gaetz, what a human piece of garbage that I respectfully hope gets has a run-in with a truck.
There's a lot of people that need to go. Greg Abbott needs to go.
Matt Gaetz represents people and is in charge of making laws. And he said 2 days ago that it's always the people that no one wants to impregnate that are worried about getting pregnated. No one wants to impregnate you if you look like a thumb. Go fuck yourself, Matt Gaetz. You're not a fucking comedian.
We are laughing.
Well, it's kind of funny.
I want to sit on your face and fart, to be honest. I want to fart on your fucking face. I hope you would, and I hope you get pink eye. I'm going to eat something real juicy. You know what? I've been keeping well with my nutrition, but for you, Matt Gaetz, I'm going to eat all the fried food and all the nasty, nasty shit. And I'm going to sit on your face and I'm going to fucking fart on it.
And he also kind of just like stole a liberal talking point and actually flipped it because that's
a Carlin joke. Yeah. But he flipped it.
Oh, it's a Carlin joke too, but then kind of like a liberal talking point is always like it's always the people who are anti-choice that you would never want to fuck. Yeah. And again, and yes, you're right, that is a Carlin joke, and then the liberals kind of took it as a talking point, but like it's not even original.
Yeah, I mean, also it's comedy. Get your fucking, you're making laws, buddy. Like, oh boy.
Well, and let's not forget the 17-year-old.
That he allegedly sex trafficked and took across state lines.
Yeah. Allegedly, just a real bad guy.
He thinks marriage should be between one man and one woman, but he wants it to be between him and a child.
Yeah. So you can learn all about that kind of stuff on Without a Country. We're on YouTube. We're in all the places that you listen to podcasts every Saturday. Shane Smith and yours truly.
Yeah. And make sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us. I've been reading some of the comments. We did get one negative review saying that I was giving out bad medical advice because I was basically suggesting that your face cream can lead to you having a miscarriage, which for the record is not what I said or meant.
Yeah, I was like, I read that. I read that and I was like,
I went to listen back to what I said. No. And it's just basically this author is, but the book is again called Woman Code: Perfect Your Cycle, Amplify Your Fertility, Supercharge Your Sex Drive, and Become a Power Source by Alyssa Vitti. All I'm trying to communicate with reading an excerpt from these books is that we should be more interested in our endocrine system and how it works. A lot of fuckers have DM'd me on Instagram, and I really appreciate it. People, Instagram accounts that are endocrinologists or how to be on top of your blood sugar, and I've been following them. Wherever you get your information, great. I just think I really just encourage everybody to be more knowledgeable about what's happening in their body. I will say, and I'm just going to read one little excerpt of one of the menstrual cycle phases. It's phase 4 because it's the phase that I'm in right now. So that's why I'm going to read it. This is my first period. I got it yesterday and I had no fucking clue it was coming because I didn't want to fucking kill myself a couple days before.
Yeah.
The premenstrual dysphoria disorder, the PMS that I've experienced over the last couple of years has been such a nightmare that I always know when my period is coming because this is, at least, 3 days out of the month, I want to fucking die. And that didn't happen. And I barely got cramps. And I was like, holy fucking shit. And obviously books such as Woman Code and all these other books that tell you on how to, keep in line with your hormones, they give you a lot of stuff to do and it's extremely overwhelming. So for me, I just implement things very slowly at my own pace. And for me, what I've been implementing is when I wake up in the morning, I drink 8 ounces of water. I don't have coffee on an empty stomach, which is something that's different for me. And I have completely changed my diet. I do not have I used to eat fucking waffles at like 2 a.m. That's not good for your hormones. Turns out that fucks you up. And it makes sense when I learned about my endocrine system. So for anybody bleeding at the moment, phase 4 is your menstrual phase. It lasts 3 to 7 days. Hormone focus, progesterone production drops off as the corpus luteum disappears, triggering the shedding of your uterine lining in your menstrual phase, aka your period/bleeding phase. And this is so these are other things that happen while you're bleeding. Estrogen peaks and then drops, stimulating your hypothalamus to prepare for another cycle of ovulation, which is one of the reasons why when I get my period, I feel euphoric. Like it's such a relief. But this round, I didn't feel like the euphoria because I've just kind of been happy pretty consistently, which is truly something that's very different for me. Body focus. So a combination of brown spotting and red bleeding characterizes this phase. You may also experience pelvic cramping, low backaches, fatigues, and cravings. Sometimes you might feel a sense of relaxation and relief as your estrogen peak passes. Lifestyle focus. Self-analysis and course correction are dominant now. During your menstrual phase, the communication between the left and right hemispheres of your brain is more powerful than at any other time. This enables you to judiciously evaluate how you're doing in your life and, if necessary, begin identifying and making course corrections that will reposition you in the direction that you want to be headed. Because of the way your hemispheres are firing back and forth, you're also most likely to receive clear, intuitive gut messages during your menstrual phase. So because of this information, I personally make it a point, I just meditate more on my period, just to see if stuff comes to me. Check in, listen to what subtle messages are, especially if every month you're coming up against the same thoughts, worries, or fears at this time. Many women find that journaling during their menstrual phase, especially when they first learn to sync with their cycle, allows them to access deeper insight into what their instincts are telling them. Food focus. During your menstrual phase, your body is involved in an intense process, eliminating the lining of your uterus. So focus your diet on foods that add nutrients. As you can see from the foods for your cycle chart, these include foods with low glycemic index and water-rich fruits and veggies. Exercise focus. Rest and recovery are important parts of any exercise program so that your body can repair. Schedule rest or yoga during the early part of your menstrual phase, especially the first day or two when your flow might be the heaviest. So, I gotta say, this shit's kind of fucking working for me. It could also be the magic mushrooms that I took, but I'm doing a lot of stuff, throwing a lot of stuff at the wall to see what sticks. And I gotta say, I have a calendar book, calendar book, and I track my moods on it and my period, and I've been happier the last 10 days than I probably have been in 3 years. So who knows exactly what's contributing to it? There's a lot of factors because I'm trying a lot of stuff, but I think that the nutrition is really helping me.
Well, and I think also, with your body, people like to get so focused on there being a right or a wrong answer, but I think even with the things that I've been going through, I think a lot of times things manifest mentally for you and they manifest physically for me. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of trial and error, and there are things that people have told me about over the years that they absolutely swear by that have changed their lives that I then try and do nothing for me.
Yeah, because
everyone's body is different, and just there's no one way to be successful or one way to find love. There's no one way, I would definitely argue, to heal yourself or make yourself feel better. Yeah. That's why there's different diets. People are on keto or paleo, or people swear that going vegan changed their life. Going vegan made me sicker than ever. You know, so it's just everyone is just such a unique. You're a unique thing put together, and you need to do a lot of work, unfortunately, to find out what works for you. Because especially American medicine wants to be there's a blanket fix for everything, mm-hmm. and there's not. And I'm a big fan of putting Eastern and Western medicine together.
Yes.
But to say definitively one thing is true when we know so little about the female body is truly
astonishing,
hilarious. Because I got a mammogram this week because you have to get it at 35 now because breast cancer is on the rise. And obviously it was COVID, so I missed a little spell. But you have to get it
hurt.
Yeah, it didn't feel great. And it was just funny to me. I have a joke about it now that I'm working on stage, but you think it's 2022 and the best solution we have for seeing if someone has one of the most common kinds of cancer is still just smashing it between two plates of plastic. That's literally hilarious to me.
You can't just take an X-ray without having to smash your tit until it pops.
I mean, it's truly hilarious. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's just everyone's own journey on their own, mm-hmm. and it's time consuming, and you'll be tired a lot of the time, and you'll be frustrated, but you'll figure it out. Yeah. I wish there was a better answer, but I just don't think that there is.
Well, and I think that we talked about with the email earlier, building efficacy with yourself. I think being on top of your health issues is a way to build confidence in yourself and trust with yourself. And that's going to be trial and error. Just figuring out, especially in America. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Insurance.
And I mean, it's 100% because my, what's the fucking, when you stick needles in someone, what is this called?
Acupuncture?
Yeah. Yeah. So even my acupuncturist going back many years when I found acupuncture, and acupuncture is another example of something that some people swear by, some people say is absolute magic horseshit. And me guys, I'm a big skeptic, but what I will say is before I started doing acupuncture at that time, I was very depressed, circumstantially depressed, and my knee was fucking killing me, which is genetic in my family amongst women. And I got acupuncture done, and both those things went away. So like, I don't know what to tell you. And she was very big into like Chinese medicine, and she would always talk to me about how women in China do not experience periods the way that we experience them here, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's
herbs
something.
is a lot of benefits.
And she was a fucking straight MD. She was not. This is not like someone who like learned how to stick needles in like a 1-year school or something. Nothing against it if you did, but I mean, she was an MD. So
yeah.
She had gone to school for a very long time.
That was the same woman that I ended up going to. Yeah. And she did acupuncture on me, and I just scream cried. Now, looking back at it, some other stuff that wasn't probably her, but you know, what works for one might not work for the other. And for me, what I do is when I hear stuff like on podcasts or friends conversing, I'm like, if it sticks with me, I look into it. And if not, you just throw it away, and one ear out the other, and that's okay.
Yeah. And then one more thing I wanted to touch on, which is more mental health related this week, is, I watch pretty much every comedy special that comes out. And a lot of you guys will DM us or say like, oh, I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say about this special. I'm not like a big fan of critiquing other people's comedy specials. These are our colleagues. I wouldn't appreciate if they all sat around in a circle and critiqued our comedy special. It's just not necessary.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
But I think what is interesting are some of the topics that people cover and the points that they make in their comedy. And I think, comedy is such a reflection of the time that we live in. And so I watched a bunch of specials this week, and Bill Burr's Live at Red Rocks really stuck out to me. And I texted Krystyna about it to make sure she could watch it as well, because I thought it was funny, but it made me kind of sad, because I felt like Bill Burr was like tapping into a lot of problems that like interpersonal relationships that women have with each other. And it makes me mad when men point those things out and women don't, or women try to deny the existence of them, because it feels like a real gotcha moment. And I was actually talking to Shane on Without a Country, and I mentioned something in passing, like sometimes I don't, like to have open conversations about what I think is wrong in feminism publicly, because I don't want the boys to hear. And that's like something that stuck with him so much that he mentioned it again the following week. And I really mean that, because sometimes I'm embarrassed as a woman that we still have to have these almost like seemingly like grade school conversations about how we treat each other as adults. I don't want the guys to catch wind of it, but obviously there's no way to have a conversation on this large of a scale without men listening to it, especially when there's a fucking narc right in the room.
Oh, I'm listening.
Because I'm embarrassed, and we should treat other people better. And it's like, and so much of the reason that why we don't treat each other well with heterosexual women, especially, is because we think it's going to make us like look cool or more wanted or more fuckable by men. And when they have that knowledge, and they do, like, they're not as dumb as we say they are jokingly. And when they have that knowledge that we are still fighting over them, it is a way for them to continue to maintain power and to think of us as second-class citizens. And, he points out things like the WNBA and how women fought so hard to get a major league in sports, and then women don't go out and support it. And like, listen, like, I'm not into sports at all across the board, but there are many women who are. And even worse, there are many women who aren't, but would go to an NBA game because their boyfriend wanted to. Yeah. Like, I like the NBA. I'm a Knicks fan, but beyond that, no sports. But I've always been a Knicks fan. But beyond that, you think it's like this is the same conversation that we had about how a girlfriend will go to like a Marvel superhero movie with her significant other, but she won't require that he comes and sees, the new rom-com that she wants to see. Yeah. And not only is this not exhibiting reciprocity in the core of the actual relationship, it's taking money out of women's things. Oh yeah. So the WNBA is getting less attention, less money, because if you were going to go to one game, you went to the NBA game. And he also points out that you know, like we'd rather see a show like Real Housewives on TV, which is literally just women tearing each other
trash.
down, getting drunk, fighting over people cheating with each other. I mean, it's absolutely, I love a reality show, but even I don't like those reality shows. It makes me really, it makes
feels
me
poisonous.
really sad in my heart to just watch women act like toddlers who don't have control of their own emotions, who are constantly shit talking each other behind their backs. Like it's
Yet
it's
these
such a
people,
bad look.
these women on these reality shows have so many followers. Like
Yeah.
a woman would rather support Kim Kardashian than a WNBA player.
Yeah.
And you have to look at you have to honestly look at why is that? I think this one bit that I do on stage, I've talked a lot about gender on stage and how like straight men and women, it's such a miracle that we even get along in a relationship. And it's not because we're actually different. It's because we are socialized to have completely opposite values. And they just fucking clash. And a lot of times, and we've talked about it so much on Guys We Fcked, women internalize these values that we should have as women on other women.
Yeah.
And it's a mind fuck of a thing. And it's just, you got to just really constantly be on top of not doing that. Like it's some mental gymnastics that we're going to have to do to be mindful of that.
Yeah, it just felt there was something really sad that I felt listening to Bill Burr point out all these things that like were hurtful, didn't offend me, but they were hurtful, and he was right.
Yeah.
He was fucking right.
His
about.
observations were dead on.
They were absolutely right. And then to hear like the guys in the audience laughing and then women kind of laughing, but like it's a laugh like I don't give a shit. Like, you know, it's just like I'm acknowledging this, but I don't care. And it's also just like then I'm like hearing the women's laughter and thinking, I'm like, how many women independently decided that they wanted to see a Bill Burr show? He's a pretty dude. He's like a dude comedian.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like we're comics, so that's I mean different. But I don't know any like single gals who are like, I love Bill Burr. In fact, Bill Burr even loves working out his material in front of the Guys We Fcked crowd because he said to me and you personally, our demographic is so not his crowd.
Right, exactly.
So like that's telling me that if you're fucking there, you're there because your boyfriend wanted to see it. And that's fine, but take him to see Whitney Cummings. Take him to see Elijah Schlesinger. Take him to see Nikki Glaser. Like there's a reason why women are behind, and part of the reason is because we don't support each other because we think there's only space for one chick because we've been told to compete with each other, and it's just like I don't know how many more times we can point it out.
Yeah, don't buy into that. Just you got to just remind all we want you to do is remind yourself not to buy into that shit. There's more than one chick comic, and we can support each other and applaud each other and egg each other on to do like dope shit. You know, when a woman does something dope, we celebrate it.
Yeah.
And just because you're a woman doesn't mean you can't be a piece of shit. That's cool too. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of layers to this life shit.
And there's a lot of layers to the story that we're having told by today's guest.
Oh my gosh, what an interview we have for you today.
Yeah, these are guests that we wanted to have on for a very long time. One of them is a friend and colleague of ours, a comedian. The other one is her mom. So please welcome to the show SHEBA Mason and her mom Ginger.
We are here with comedian SHEBA Mason and her incredible mother, Ginger. I'm so excited to have you guys.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show. Long time coming. We've been cooking this one up for a while.
We're so excited to be here.
Ginger's we flew her in. I mean, we didn't pay for it. Can you imagine? She flew herself in, and then we said, while you're in town, can you please kindly sit down with us? That made it seem like a much bigger production than it is. But we're very happy to have you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So, I mean, obviously, well, I don't know. It's not obvious. I mean, I told SHEBA kind of what we wanted to talk about. You had a relationship with the comedian Jackie Mason. And I guess we should start there and tell us how you met, how that came about, how you got pregnant. I mean, well, we know the logistics of it, but
yeah,
right.
P and the V.
Yeah.
Basically, I came to Florida from New York, coming from a bad affair. I was 23. I was having an affair with a much older man.
How much older?
He was 61.
Oh, wow.
He was like really.
Good for you, Ginge.
Yeah, thank you. Very proud. But he also was cheating on me. I was 23 and he was 61. So, you know.
Who was he cheating on you with?
Well, he owned a nightclub, somebody in the nightclub. you know.
Like, where is he getting all these ladies?
Yeah, one of those jobs, you know.
What was it like having? We're gonna ask a lot of questions while you tell the story. But
Sure.
What was it like, or did you recall as a 23-year-old having sex with someone that much older? Did it feel different?
Well, it depends on the much older guy.
Okay.
He was really macho, and you know he did everything.
He was a hot 16.
I don't want to like yada yada over the best part, but you know
Right.
all of it.
Yeah.
And he was. I mean all of it.
Like his dick was really
Sorry, Sheba, we made you sit right in the middle. So that
I wanted to sit on the edge.
now, as I'm asking your mom like to talk about her sex life, I was like, oh, I see.
And you know, I lived with him in a hotel during the summer because when I had met him, this first guy, his name was Irving. Okay, his name was Irving, and
That's such a
like the week that I had met him, he went to his house. He had like an empty mansion because his wife had divorced him, and like
why.
somebody was laying and waiting in the bushes to shoot him.
Oh.
And he saw the guy, and he had a gun ready, and he shot the guy.
Oh my God.
People he had evicted from his nightclub. And so, you know, I always had to sit like every restaurant we went to, he had to face whoever was coming in. And you know,
straight mafia
Soprano
stuff.
shit.
yeah. And so I always, you know, now I always have to sit like this because I got so sick of sitting like this. So
Door watch for murderers. Ugh.
Right. So we stayed in a hotel rather than his mansion to make my mother happy, and his empty mansion. But then I found out he had another girl in his empty mansion. She accepted it. I wouldn't accept the empty mansion. So anyway, I knew I had to leave. I was a first-year teacher at the time, and I just wanted to leave. So I left and I went to Florida. And when I went to Florida, because I've always loved Florida, my mother decided the last minute to jump in the car with me. I didn't even know she was coming. She left her guy.
Concern you.
She was
You
like,
both left guys at the same time.
yeah, she left her like fourth husband, and she just said I'm going, and he was left alone. And but we didn't live together. It was the first time I had my own apartment, being that age, and like within 3 days, we had gone to Wolfie's in Miami Beach. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's way before your time, but a famous deli where everybody went.
Okay.
A giant deli on Lincoln Road.
Oh, cool.
And was sitting there with my mother, and a woman came over to the table and said, "Do you want to meet Jackie Mason?" And my mother said, "Of course she does, certainly." And
Well, you're just getting pimped out.
yeah. And I said, "Who's Jackie Mason?" She said, "He's my favorite comedian. Come on." So she schleps me over to the table, and Jackie says, "So are you in Miami a long time?" To me. And my mother says, "We just moved here 3 days ago, Jackie. Let me tell you, I love your act, and I've always been a great fan of yours." And he said, thank you. You're no dummy." Then he said to me, "So what do you do for a living?" So my mother said, "Well, my daughter's studying for a master's degree. She's a teacher who belly dances on the side." And he said, "She must also be a ventriloquist. I ask her a question, it comes out of your mouth." So then he started talking to her and forgetting about me. He said, "So would you mind if I took your daughter out to dinner?" And she said, "She'd love it. Here's a number."
Oh my God.
Wow.
And that was how I met him.
Hi, I'm Ginger. Nice to meet you. Well, if your mom didn't come in that car, Sheba wouldn't be here.
Oh my God.
That's very true.
Whoa. That is cosmic.
Yeah.
Were you attracted to him? What I mean, physically, emotionally, his sense of humor?
Not initially.
Yeah.
But I sat with him for 1 hour. The first date was at Denny's in Florida.
Nice. I like that.
Just
Moons over
coffee.
Miami, bonding.
But within 1 hour, he was so brilliant. You know, he was brilliant. And don't forget, he didn't look the way he looked just before he passed away. He was much younger.
Yeah.
Okay, and more hardy. And I fell in love with him within 1 hour.
Wow.
That's impressive. That's star power.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And he wasn't even a big star. He was like in between he had been, just 12 years before. I met him 12 years after he was thrown off of the Ed Sullivan Show.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And he was struggling.
flux, yeah.
He was struggling at a hotel. Tickets were $7 to see him. He was in between those stages, but still I could see he was brilliant.
How old was he at that time?
He was 46 46.
And you were 23.
Yeah, when I was
Okay.
23.
So
yeah.
an improvement from 61.
Yeah.
Right.
20, 2 decades down.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right. Well, he said he was 46. I always thought he was a little older, like a little bit older.
Oh.
You never checked his ID?
No.
Yeah.
I don't even think he had any. But anyway,
So wow. And then did you date? You dated?
after that, we dated, but it's not like dating. You know, it's like you'd go to sleep, he'd call you up 12:30. So, and you'd be sleeping, hoping he called. So you want to meet for something, a cup of coffee, I just finished my show. And then eventually I went to his shows. You know, he likes to he loved to show off his shows, you know, and I'd be one
his
girl
gift.
in the audience and I didn't realize maybe there was another one and another one. And he would pick and choose.
Damn.
I hate to make him look so bad.
No,
Sheba.
but no, well, I will say, male comedians haven't changed.
Yeah.
That is a male comedian thing, man. Whew.
Yeah, pick and choose. Right?
Yeah, they're like little chess pieces.
Yeah. Who's and then but ultimately, like after because I went out with him for 10 years, so ultimately, one year I remember I was with him at the Colonial Inn. Wait a minute. Yeah, the Colonial Inn while he was staying, and he said, I always waited for him in the lobby. I never went up to his room when I was like early. We'd go out to dinner unless he summoned me to his room, like a king.
Yeah.
And
He has a high opinion of himself.
yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
Very male comedian.
Right. Now I don't think he does. But anyway, I think
dead,
that
guys.
changed. Okay. That changed. But anyway, so what was I talking about?
So he would
Colonial
sometimes
Inn.
summon you up to his room, and then but most times you were not.
So
in his
all right. So after a period of not seeing him for a few weeks, he called and he said, "I'll meet you in the lobby." And I'm waiting in the lobby like 20 minutes, and I said, "You know what? The hell with it." I had already written a musical about him, which wasn't finished yet. She wasn't born, so like she wasn't even
So you get material out of it.
She wasn't even conceived?
No, not even conceived yet.
You were just a sparkle in the sky.
Yeah, yeah, not in her father's eye though. But anyway.
Hey.
And you've heard everything that your mom's saying right now before or no? Is any of this new?
No,
okay, I figured. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be like, and this is your life.
Surprise, Sheba.
So I just like his friend was there. I used to call him Schlepp-Along in the play. I call him Schlepp-Along, Wooly the Schlepp-Along. He was in the lobby. I said, "I'm leaving." He said, "What? You're walking out on Jackie?" I said, "I'm not waiting in a
God,
lobby
he's not a king.
for anybody anymore.
Good
I've
for
had
you.
it. I'm leaving."
Yeah.
Okay. So a few hours wasn't even that night. He didn't even call me that night. He called me like a few days later. I'm trying to remember everything. And he said, "So you walked out on me? You could think you could just walk out on me?" I said, "I'm never waiting in a lobby for you again.
Yeah.
You want me?
Set that boundary.
If I get there and on time, I'm going to your room and I'm sitting in your room, or forget it."
Yeah.
And from that point on, the whole thing changed just because I walked
Because
out.
you stood your ground.
I traveled with him. I'm like, I didn't know those were the magic words. He took me everywhere. He traveled to the Concord Hotel. We'd always go to like the
You go in the room.
mountains. Right. Yeah.
And would
go
he
in
call
the-
you his girlfriend from then on? Like, how was he introducing you to other people?
I'm going to just fast forward a little.
Yeah.
He always introduced me as his secretary. Nobody was ever his girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
And when I traveled with him at one point when I was already 6 months pregnant, and his brother, he has
This is my bloated secretary.
his brothers, they were all rabbis, and he was pregnant, and I was pregnant, and he said, "This is my secretary," and they looked at him like, "Yeah, right.
all
Why are you
know.
traveling with your pregnant secretary?"
Right.
So yeah, that was fast forwarding.
I mean, that's a good lesson in setting a boundary, though. I think a lot of listeners could stand to like use that, because I think so often straight women just sit around waiting for this guy to call them or show up, or we
still
run when they
happens.
calls, and it's like, what are you doing?
Also, and what year is this, may I ask? Because this is also a time where women were stay in your place kind of attitude was like really thick, laid on women in society.
Right. This was I knew him between the late 70s and like right when she was born in
What
the
was
mid
like
80s.
the role of a woman during that time, from your experience?
Well, women were a lot more submissive. They didn't have like Hinge and all that stuff.
Right.
And and you couldn't just slide right, and you sat around waiting for a call, and they didn't even have answering machines yet. Eventually they came. You know, he couldn't even call me on the phone. And then eventually he could.
Right.
I mean, I remember when cordless phones came out, like just cordless phones.
Yeah.
And it was a whole different time. You just waited for the call.
Right.
And so I still think you don't have to accept what you don't want. You walk out, and sometimes when you walk out, that vacuum pulls them in. You know, it's like a push and a pull, and you just have to take that risk.
Yeah, because no one's ever challenged them
Worst case,
like that before.
Worst case, you move on.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
it can't go wrong.
You're 100% right.
And then you were treated well from that point on.
Incredibly well. I was treated incredibly well.
him.
With
Right.
him.
Because did you ever say, like, I'm not your secretary? Did you ever say that?
I didn't say that in front of people. I didn't
Right.
want to embarrass him, but they looked at him like he's nuts. They knew he was nuts.
So everyone knew.
My secretary.
Men will put a little tiny tissue over their eye and be like, no one can see me.
Right.
And it's like, you dumbass. Yes, we can.
I know.
We all know.
He was never married?
Well, this is the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. When I met him, like the very first time I slept with him in a hotel room.
Yeah.
Okay. He got a phone call from his manager. He said, "This is my manager, Jill. Don't say anything. Don't flush the toilet. I don't want her to know that anybody is here." Because
Female
she's-
manager?
Yeah, Jill. Yeah. I don't want people to know. I don't want her to know that I'm with you. That I'm with another girl. She's madly in love with me, and she tried to kill herself already. So this is what I heard. So I could never flush.
Incredible.
I would just fart and see how he saves himself. That's great. You got to say it was you, honey.
You know, nobody farted in those days.
I know. Better
Not even
times.
men?
Well, yeah, they always did, right? Not him, though.
Really?
He was a gentleman about it.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, he kept a certain protocol.
That's nice.
yeah.
Now we're on the side again.
Ish.
So you're 6 months pregnant. You give birth to Sheba. How does that go down? Is he at the hospital? How is the birth?
Okay, so I was 3 weeks late, and he came to me the last week, and he opened the door because I hadn't seen him for a few months. Like, last time I had seen him, I was 7 months pregnant, and we were arguing. We had a big argument. Then he came back. But
What was the argument about, Mask?
well, I'm a songwriter, and he criticized one of my songs. So I threw him out.
I love you. You're exceptional.
Also, yeah, he just doesn't like people
you.
flourishing around him.
Yeah, this story is great.
So when I even told him I was pregnant, he was having a fit.
What was his
Yeah.
criticism of your song?
He said it sounded like a bar mitzvah song, and it really isn't a bar mitzvah song. It's a good song.
Wow.
I like that as artists, we were more offended by the song criticism, but than the fact that he was annoyed when you said you were pregnant. We were like, it's back to that song. That is rude.
Respect the art, Jackie.
All right, now I want to hear the song, man.
me
Okay. Okay, so you're writing songs. He's rude. He comes back. He's not. Was he just like in denial that you were pregnant, or was he saying maybe it's somebody else's? What was his?
He was saying, well, if you want to have it, when I told him he was mad, he said, I'd marry you quicker if you weren't having a baby. Which I
No,
didn't
you
believe.
wouldn't have.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
believe that at all. And I even went with him, like I said, when I was pregnant, and he tried to get his friend in the early days to talk me into having an abortion.
How did that friend try to talk you into that? I'm curious.
Well, we were
what the
sitting at
tactics
the
are.
table at, a round table at the Concord Hotel. And the friend said to me, you really don't need this. And Manny doesn't need this in his life. And he's not going to, sorry,
Oh, who's Manny?
somebody else that
Oh, nice.
her husband now. That's my husband now. Sorry. Just
We
somebody.
love you, Manny.
Just this guy that I'm married to.
A couple decades.
So he just said, Jackie's not going to be happy with this. And Jackie's sitting there. And
I was going to say this is in front of Jackie.
in front of Jackie.
So he can't speak for himself.
No, he had somebody else. He was weak like that.
Yeah.
Weak like that. So then Jackie finally said, if you want to have this baby, I want to tell you, it's up to you. It's going to be your baby. It's not going to be my baby. It's going to be your baby. I said, that's fine. He said, and I'll pay for her, but not for college. I'm not going to pay for college. You know,
No, daughter of mine's going to be smart. Jesus.
No, he thinks that people pay for their college education and the kids just screw around and don't
so he's
study.
already trusting. Okay, good.
Right, yeah. So that's what he said. But after she was born, my mother, who was, very ballsy, 3 days after she was born, she had a party and she put this big sign on the restaurant, welcome Sheba Mason.
Nice. You take responsibility, sir.
But she shoved it right up there, and he called me. He had such a fit. I think he called me like 10 times that night and hung up on me. And he just kept calling. He said, "Who told you? Who told your mother she could do a thing like that? Who told your mother she could do a thing like that?" I said, makes my mother happy. She's a big show off. I really love my mother more than I love any man. So sorry, I'm letting her do it. And then he said, you know what? Why don't I come over and we'll take off our clothes and discuss it further? That's what he said.
Not the time to fuck, Jackie.
Yeah.
But I think it turned him on because I didn't give a shit.
Oh, wow.
It's also interesting to me because when you said I love my mother more than any man, I was like, yes. But if a man had said that, I would be like, ugh. So
That's true. It's a
when a woman says it means something.
I was like,
different.
that's beautiful when you said it.
It's interesting that you would say that.
Yeah, I really hate mama's
because
boys.
men tend to rely on their mothers in a more pathetic way. When a woman is connected with her mother in a strong way, there's like a lot of strength that gets fortified in that relationship. It can of course be toxic because every family can be toxic, but a man and his mom are different vibe than a woman and her mom.
You're right about that, but still, did my mother have to be such a show off?
No.
I mean, like, come on.
It's a funny way to make someone take responsibility, though. I mean, even though he still kind of didn't,
Yeah.
So now you're here. So Sheba, were you always like very open, like your dad's Jackie Mason, or?
Yeah, I mean, you guys told me. I mean, I guess I just always grew up knowing,
Right.
sort of.
I mean, your last name is helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't even want me to keep my last name.
Could you give her? You can have that last name without him saying anything. He doesn't have to say anything.
Well, there was a paternity suit. He denied it, and I had to take him to court.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
You're like, oh, you want to play with DNA, sir? Let's go.
right, so that's what it was. There was a blood test, and there was everything, and it took a long time because they constantly lied about what I was doing. I never chased him.
They were trying to badmouth you, I'm sure, along the way.
Constantly, all these guys that look like
they
him.
were hoping you, but worse. Yeah.
Right, but the blood test showed beyond a shadow of a doubt that he was the father. So, what was I saying?
The last name, like, could you legally-
So they tried at one of the hearings. They said to the judge, she has no right to the name. But then the blood test came out, and the judge said she certainly has a right to the name.
Yeah.
That's
And
the
that was
attitude
it.
I'm looking for.
Yeah, right.
Truth.
Huh. So, how was it? What has your relationship with your father? I mean, he's deceased now, but been with like over time. Because I mean, we hear about it because like every now and then there'll be an article about it, and especially being in the comedy profession, obviously it floats around. But I've never really like talked to you extensively about your relationship with him.
Sure. So when I was a child, like really small, it was a very big kind of scandalous thing because you just didn't have children out of wedlock, I guess.
Right.
Like, I mean, you sort of did, but it wasn't, and he, this was like in all the newspapers. It was all over like the front page. She was like in her belly dancing costume on like the front page of some newspapers.
Of course, they're probably pushing like, how can we make this woman look the worst?
Yeah.
Because they want to make you,
Like look like a whore and stuff like that.
right.
And like,
You mean fun?
Yeah.
she was also a teacher,
Yeah, but that's not a fun picture to run.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
This woman teaches children on her side. So
And so for a period, we were actually on some shows, like some of those talk shows, like Entertainment Tonight, Current Affair was a big
nice.
one at that time. Other ones.
That other guy, I don't know.
So all the hits.
Yeah.
So you two together, but not Jackie.
No,
Right.
not him. Yeah.
Okay.
But we would be on it like we.
meet him. Have you met him?
So I met him like less than 5 times in my life.
Okay.
Oh.
So we would meet though like other celebrities' children. Like we met like Johnny Carson's granddaughter on the shows. It's like all the reject it's like all the reject celebrity kids. It was kind of fun. We made friends and stuff. But so when I was 8, so he did have to pay child support, so we paid child support.
Okay.
And then when I was 8, he was going to be performing at the Broward Center of the Performing Arts in Florida, which was like a giant theater. And my grandmother, who's as you can see, is extremely pushy, felt that it was time that I was 8 already, and that's enough to kind of understand. So she was like, well, you have to go see your father's show, I think. So she took me to see his show, and just as a patron, like paying for a ticket.
Yeah.
And then and we wanted to go backstage, so we ended up through like a lot of trial and error. We got backstage. I saw my mother in the audience, but she had a disguise on.
Wait. Ginger, you're a character.
Ginger, what you wearing? A hat? What were you talking about?
She has a mustache on.
Thick black glasses and a giant nose.
Literally wearing a wig.
Now, what was your goal?
And I go, Mommy, and like,
oh no, because you're 8. Yeah, you didn't know. Oh no, Mommy, why's your hair different? That's not your glasses.
I don't even know why did you go? I don't know why you went.
Because I drove you. I drove you.
You sat
You drove
separately?
me and Grandma. That's
Right.
right.
Did you sit separately?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, because it's a good decoy. Yeah. Because then they couldn't get backstage if you were there.
Oh my God.
Did he say anything in his act that was like noteworthy that you remembered?
I mean, like, he was funny. I remember, he does a lot of the differences between Jews and Gentiles. I didn't completely understand every single thing, but I remember being very impressed with like the amount of people he was performing for and thinking like, wow, this guy's, I mean, he was
influential.
killing. Yeah. I mean, that is impressive.
Yeah.
And like, I think my grandmother wanted me to like understand where I came from.
Yeah.
Because even though he's kind of a prick, it's still special.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
you're
a good
right.
way to look at it.
That's a good way to look at it. Well, you're right. I mean, it's a legendary person and you want to understand, you want to take that in if you have the opportunity to.
And I think sometimes you could understand, why someone might be troubled through their comedy too. So it can help like reconcile the feelings that you might have had towards him. I mean, at 8, do you remember, did you feel like abandoned? Did you not care? Like, what was the thought process?
So I guess because he had never been there to leave, I didn't feel like a sense of like knowing this person.
Sure.
So I was sort of like in awe. Like I remember when I met him, I was like saying like the Lord's Prayer in my head,
Oh, yeah.
I was like right before I met him, I was like kind of shaky and like in like awe because he's a celebrity, but it's also my father. So it was like this weird feeling. And then when I met him, he said something very tender. He goes, she looks just like her mother, like kind of tender.
Yeah.
Almost like he missed my mother,
Aw, that's
and then,
nice.
Yeah, and he asked me like 2 questions, and then, but Jill, who's very like super influential in his life, she was his manager.
Oh, that was real.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought Jill was like
Jill.
another woman.
No,
but it was
she was
her
his
legit
manager, and
was she in love with him or was he making that up?
she was obsessed with him morning, noon, and night.
She's probably a good manager.
Morning, noon, and night. She was completely
Favorite
obsessed.
client.
She also used like kind of like black magic stuff to get
Like
his
voodoo?
mind control, and I saw evidence of it. But that's a whole nother story.
Whoa.
She was like
I
extremely
don't care, I really
controlling,
Yeah, but are we talking like she's doing
Like voodoo
spells?
dolls
Yeah,
or like
yeah, stuff like that. Like when I was in his apartment once, even before she was around, before Sheba was around, and there was an album in it. Not that I was snooping,
Yeah.
but like he was out of the apartment, and there was
You're looking around
I was just
at
like
your
wondering
surroundings.
what's here, and there,
the best trip.
The way to say snooping. I was wandering around going, what is the subject?
I was surveying
You were
the
investigating.
property.
right. So like there was an album, and the back page of the album was my picture, and she had like a cross over it and a skull bone.
Yo.
I'm not kidding. That made me aware. And then one time I was with him where he wasn't in her energy field for like a couple of weeks, and he was a completely different person. He didn't take her call. He said, "Fuck her. What do I need to talk
Wow, he was
to her
out of
for?"
her spell. Right.
Out of her spell, and then a few days later, right back in, like he had never been out.
Wow.
I think he lived his entire lifetime under her spell. I heard rumors he wasn't even at his own wedding, and she was in charge of his papers, and he's got an evil lawyer there who he didn't even like at the end of his life.
Oh, wow.
So.
Wow.
I don't name too many names because I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know black magic was like cell phone reception. Like if you're out of like the area,
You're out of range.
You're out of range
of the spell.
For a couple of days.
Well, yeah, if he's not in contact with her, then he's not being kind of beaten down by her in the ways that she would do
That's
that.
exactly right.
So Damn.
This is a fascinating story.
Damn.
Okay, so Sheba, you're 8. You see the show. You're backstage. You have to
Tender
sneak
moments.
backstage at your own dad's show. Which and then does he acknowledge in that moment that you're his kid, or it's just not spoken?
It was sort of like, yeah, I mean, he like acted as if I was, and he looked at me, like really looked at me, the way a father would, and he was very sweet. And then for a minute, and then he said she looks just like her mother, and that was tender. And he said she looks like a happy, well-adjusted kid, because I'm 8, I'm kind of clueless.
Yeah, you're 8. Yeah, you're a child.
And also, you're well adjusted because you weren't raised by a comedian. So
That helps. That helps.
that's helpful.
And then it kind of ended. It was a brief and really brief. I mean, like a 5-minute interaction.
Yeah.
Wow.
He said, "I have to go because Jill's parents are here."
Yeah.
And,
Jill.
And then that was one time I met
his
him.
arm starts twitching. He's like, "Oh, Jill wants me." Oh, damn! Wow. And then how did you remember how you felt afterwards?
I really felt like, wow, I was kind of like more impressed than like mournful because I didn't understand loss, I guess, yet.
Well, you had nothing to lose and only information about him to gain.
Right.
So
yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. Like, so, I was kind of raised by my mother and my grandmother at that point.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, well, that's really cool to know that I'm, there's some kind of royalty here.
Yeah.
And I was more like excited, I guess, than sad.
Nice.
I didn't understand that she was like really heartbroken yet. I didn't get that yet.
Yeah, because they're so young. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Well,
it
that's
took a
good.
while.
If you're 8 and your mom's heartbroken, there's
That's not
trouble
good.
in the home.
Yeah.
She's it's a parent's responsibility to hide that.
Yeah.
When did you finally understand the loss that your mom was feeling from the relationship or the neglect? I mean, I don't want to list feelings that you were feeling, but
I think it was as I got older and like understood men more myself. I think I didn't really fully understand it until maybe I was like 13, 14.
Sure.
And then I like kind of understood, like really like, oh, okay, that's if I'm feeling this over some idiot kid,
Yeah.
when the stakes are higher, that must be devastating.
And she did write a really good, a musical about it. It has like a whole cast. It's a musical comedy. And like,
I didn't realize that was written that before you were even born. I didn't realize that.
I know. So yeah, there was like an early incarnation of it.
Okay.
And then she changed it a lot over the years and stuff. And then it ended up, I play my mother in the show. It's like an off-Broadway show.
Awesome.
And thanks. And it's like a musical comedy. So it's like funny and light, but also you can really get the pain more.
Yeah. How many times have you met him? You said a handful.
Yeah. So after that, the next time I met him was so I used to bartend in the Broadway theaters when I was like 18 and 19 years old.
Cool.
And I was coming out of Spam-A-Lot and his Broadway show was right across the, great show. Right. Oh my
God.
And
Tim Curry. Oh.
Yeah.
That's how I met Tim Curry.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? When I did it, there was who's Niles on Frasier?
Oh yeah.
David.
Hyde Pierce.
David Hyde Pierce.
Yeah.
Yes, he was
So good.
He sang that song.
Night
If we
Superman.
don't have any Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great. So I love that show. But anyway, so afterwards, it was fun to bartend at the Broadway
Yeah, I
theaters.
imagine.
Not really for money as much as like getting to see the shows. You make a little money, but you get to see all the shows. So I was coming out, and he was walking out of his Broadway show. He had a show on at the Helen Hayes Theater right across the street.
Wow.
So I approached him, and he was standing by his limo, and I said, "Hi," and he goes, "Oh," he's like, "Should I recognize you?" I said, "I'm your daughter."
So yeah, you should. I would say yes.
I also look a lot like you. At that time, I was still brunette, and so
Should I recognize you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Do you think he was being sassy or he legitimately didn't recognize
he
you?
legitimately didn't recognize me.
Or he was like, wait, I recognize you. Why?
Maybe that, but he
And
hadn't
then-
seen me in what,
Yes, you're a
13
grown
years.
person. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah.
Wow.
So then
You said you're. Yeah.
he said, "Oh, right," like really casual, and then he goes, "I want you to come to my show tomorrow, and I want you." And I was like, "Well, really excited about it," and he goes, "If they for some reason they don't let you in, then come to my house." So he starts to give me his address, and I take out a pen to write
Put
down
me
his
on the
address.
list, Dad.
Right. Well, he was going to put, he actually wanted me to get there an hour early. He said, "You'll come an hour early. We'll sit, we'll talk." It was really friendly.
wow. Yeah.
Right. And then he said, "If they don't let you in, come to my house." So I take out a pen and he goes, "Don't write it down. Jill's parents are right here."
Jill,
Again, even all those years later. And I don't even care if she hears this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is Jill
of course,
around?
if I get killed after this podcast, we know who did it.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right.
Allegedly, Chad, but also
allegedly,
maybe
but
not.
also Yeah.
So so the next day, so I tell my mother he wants me to come to a show. She goes, don't get too excited, right? I show up, there's a lawyer's letter waiting for me that I'm not allowed to go in, which I don't even know. Maybe he didn't even know about it. Maybe it wasn't even on him.
Oh, Jill.
Or like, you know, he is an attorney that was like very powerful.
I hear you on that, but I'm always like hesitant to just like take all the blame away from if he, you know, he has enough power. If he wanted to make it happen, he could have made it happen. It's not like, poor Jackie Mason, I can't control my own actions.
Right.
You're 100% right.
See, I was like, your mom's nodding. I was like, me and your mom are going to start a cult after this.
It's called No Jills Allowed.
We're gonna take everyone down.
So what does this paper say?
So it just basically, I still have it in my house somewhere too. It said like, you know, you're not allowed to come in. Jackie doesn't really want you here. And like they were all ready with the letter, which he knew.
So hurtful.
Yeah, it was
He
a little
invited
hurtful.
you.
Yeah. But see how he sort of like knew that?
He was brainwashed.
He, like,
if this
set you
guy's
up for
actually
failure.
brainwashed. I mean, I've met women who are brainwashed, like severe cases of it, and you're like, oh, you're not in your body. Like, you're not making these decisions. You're a puppet. The puppet master is making these
So
decisions.
you believe in brainwashing?
Yeah. Well, it's a military tactic.
Wow. Yeah.
But you have to still be somewhat of a willing participant.
Absolutely.
It's like hypnosis. Like everyone can't be hypnotized, but some people can be hypnotized.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
So then I went to his house and they told me he moved.
Who's they? Like the
you
doorman?
can see- Oh.
He moved overnight?
Oh
Yeah,
my God. That is such a
I should have
pathetic
waited.
cover-up.
I know. In retrospect, because I was like, 18, I didn't have
Yeah,
the
you're
patience.
a kid. Yeah.
Right.
I should have waited like 3 months and thrown them off and then gone to his house.
I guess, yeah, but I mean, you're not going to assume your dad's going to lie to you that blatantly.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
God, why would you give me your address?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so are you telling your mom this as it happens? I know you and your mom are very close.
Yeah, I told her. She wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
Right.
By that point, she had been like so, emotionally battered and beaten by these people that it's like,
Yeah. And had you moved on to dating someone else at this point?
Sure. I'm married now, like over 20 years.
Okay. So you had already met Manny?
Yeah.
Or is there someone else?
No. It's Manny.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get back to Manny in a second. Sounds sexy. It's a good name. So I love this interview. Okay. So then you've met him a couple times, and then when's the next time that you meet him?
so then, so I was already living in New York City and I was living like in Chelsea. I lived on the Upper West Side. Then I was like looking for apartments in all earnest. And I happened to, you know how like you always have to pay a broker's fee. I found a place with no broker's fee.
Nice. Right.
Really conveniently located in Midtown that happened to be right across from the Applejack Diner that was like his haunt. He was always hanging out at the Applejack Diner.
So like fate just keeps pushing you towards this man.
Sort of. I mean, I wasn't going to not move into my apartment because he's there.
Right.
But at the same time, I wasn't looking to move to where we go, so-
Right.
It's cosmic, because there's a lot of cosmic stuff about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Wow.
I guess. And so then after that, occasionally I would like try to approach him at the diner if he was alone. It would never really be that friendly. One time, one of my jokes was published in the New York Post that said, "I wish a better looking comedian was my father." Like Woody Allen or Rosie O'Donnell at the time.
That's a great joke. Did he see it? Did he read it?
Yeah, so he read it. And
Nice.
he goes, "This is who you compare me to, a fat yet to like Rosie O'Donnell and a schmuck like Woody Allen," and he like screams at me at the diner.
Father of the year, huh?
Right?
I like how he can communicate with you when on like his terms, you know?
Right. And I said,
Woody Allen was more in touch with his daughter than you were, Dad.
"Oh, that's for sure." Yeah. Even my joke now is at least he would have played with me.
Incredible.
So like after that, like, I said, "Well, why don't you help me write a new joke?" And he goes, "I should help you write a new joke." And he goes, "They just told me to go fuck myself."
He said, "Go fuck yourself."
So
Yeah.
do you think he was extra angry because you were pursuing the same thing that he had pursued?
That's possible.
Yeah, you
That's
never.
possible.
When did you start comedy? How old were you?
19.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So right after that Broadway stint. Okay, interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, how did he reach out to you after he saw in the paper?
So I was walking by the Applejack Diner and I saw him sitting there and I came in to say hello, and that's the first thing he said. I would never approach him if he was with,
Somebody else.
Right.
Jill.
Yeah.
Have you met Jill?
like not like I've never like said
you seen
hello,
her?
but I've seen her. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. She
Yeah.
got it in her eyes. She's got like the look in her eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What made? Do you feel like comedy was truly just? I mean, it is in your blood, but did you feel it in your blood? Like, what made you want to pursue comedy as a career?
Well, so I did a lot of theater in my life. Like, I always went to like theater camp, and I did a lot of regional theater,
Yeah.
and like I made, she made sure I had like singing lessons and dancing lessons and all that sort of stuff. And when I was 6, there was a comedian named Frankie Mann who's now passed away, but he had like an act in the South Florida condo circuit. If you don't know what that is, that's like where they have these giant theaters in like Century Village, or like, it's not
condo
assisted
circuit.
living.
Well, okay. Yeah.
There's like a whole circuit. It's just 55 and over communities.
Right, like Lady Lake, Florida. Yeah.
And they have like these giant, like in Miami and like Fort Lauderdale, and like so they have these giant theaters. So I would like perform with this comedian. He would bring me up for like 7 minutes.
Nice.
I'd have a little bit of patter. I'd sing a song, and I learned how to like like
showbiz.
That feels like so vaudevillian.
I know.
It was very vaudevillian.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
It's really cool.
It was really like the last of that era.
Yeah.
And so I enjoyed that, and I would, at that time, I'm 6, I'm 7, I'm 8, and Jackie
Yeah.
Mason's huge. So all these people get a huge kick that I'm like this cute little girl.
Yeah.
Jackie Mason's, and I love doing it. you
Yeah.
know? And it was fun to get that adulation that young. And sometimes there'd be a live band, and I'd have to learn how to sing with the band instead of just a tape. Because you have tapes back then.
And like every little girl is performative. Like that's the dream.
Yeah, I'd wear a cute costume, and it was like really fun. So then when I moved to New York, I came really like to pursue acting more. I was a singer at Ellen Stardust Diner, a singing waitress.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I went to college, part-time, but college, and I was always working as a waitress or something like that. I always had and then I got a job at New York Comedy Club as a waitress, and she thought it would be fun to like be a waitress at comedy clubs, and there was an opening, and she thought like, she didn't really think I would be a comedian.
Yeah.
You were always like very, very supportive of her being in the entertainment business, though. It never your experience in it never scared you.
No, I always loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. When I was little, I always wanted to be Shirley Temple. The parent pushes it on the kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's right to do, but it happens.
Yeah, late for decisions now.
Hey, it's better than pushing, a terrible personality disorder on your kid or something. So,
It happens. You see a lot of like baseball players or kids because
Yeah. Also, they're like, oh, that's cool. Like, and you're musical theater. You're theatrical. You're a theatrical
Right,
person. You're a musical
right.
person. So it's especially when you have both parents in the arts, whether one is in your life or not. Like that's just that's stirring in you, I imagine.
Yeah, and I always enjoyed being in plays. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And then so when I became a waitress at this comedy club, Buddy Flip, I don't know if you guys remember him.
Sounds
I
familiar.
think I've heard Mark Maron talk about him.
He was the manager. He goes, "Why don't you take my class for free?"
Oh, that's nice.
And then the rest is history. So I took a stand-up class. And
Nice.
And you felt immediately connected to it?
Yeah. And I did. And I really liked the fact that you could be alone on stage and not have to like worry about other people.
The best.
You are
Right?
your own do or die.
God.
It is up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
And you don't really have to wait so much for opportunities. You can make your own opportunities. Whereas like with a play or, you always have to wait for someone to
production.
cast you. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the best part of coming. I love it.
Yeah. So and then from there I started doing it like hardcore.
Yeah. And did he find out, did Jackie find out you were a comedian based off of that joke in the paper?
That's a good question. I think he like knew that he was friends with this guy who was a comedian. I don't know if you guys remember him, Danny LaBelle, who moved to LA.
Yes.
Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. At the Strip? Was he at the Strip?
He was there a lot,
Yeah.
but he was where was he a lot? He was at Broadway back then. So they were like really close friends. So
Okay.
I think like he found out through him
Okay.
a little bit.
Can't trust anyone.
Yeah. And so then he knew, but I guess, he didn't
What's he going to
care.
do?
Yeah.
What's he going to do?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and then, and so at this time, like, when's the first time, like, do you remember the first time you saw Sheba perform stand up?
Yeah, I kind of do. And, I thought she had what it takes. A little work is needed. But,
That's such a mom response.
I think it was like really early.
it was really early. Somebody wanted to book her right away for like thousands of dollars.
Oh, wow.
Until we
Damn.
sent the videotape because she was really inexperienced. I've never heard from them again.
You got-
It was a videotape in those days.
Right. Damn.
But she's improved.
Who are you, my dad? What's going on?
I mean, I figure I don't think there's many people who could send in their first tape and someone would be like,
Oh my God.
let's
It
get
took
this
me
person.
Years to get a tape that was even a little acceptable.
Exactly.
It does.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted me based on the name because they were like
Right.
Jackie Mason fans, and then they were like,
And they
"Oh,
realized
maybe
that
not."
was a mistake. Okay, got it. You just gotta wait. Yeah.
So funny. And over the years, like once you got all the legal stuff out of the way, like did you have any kind of interaction with Jackie or?
Well, I'd come to visit her, and I'd see him on the street.
Really?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
she lived right there where you dwelled.
Yeah, and the first time I saw him, it had been a very long time, and and like he smiled at me. He was sitting with Jill, and the attorney.
She's never gonna die.
Like,
I was gonna live forever.
I know, and that was after she tried to kill herself too. She's still
geez.
gonna live forever, but that's her choice.
Right.
I feel bad for her because I don't think she had one solid moment of happiness with him. I just don't think she.
Well, if she's trying to control, you can't enjoy a relationship with somebody.
I mean, other than me, there were tons of women that went out with him, and she knew about it. And I really now feel so sorry for her.
Right.
You
Well, she
know?
was like putting herself in this hamster wheel of pain.
Right. She just did that. She put herself in the hamster
Maybe the
wheel.
pain is what fueled her magic powers, though.
And if something did.
It's like solar power, but like, pain power. I don't know. I'm just guessing, but like, I'm really invested in Jill's storyline here.
I know.
Because it's just so, wow, what the hell? Like, what? That's so bizarre.
It's also bizarre to me that after years, like you pass on this, he just smiles at you, and then there was no verbal interaction.
No, I never spoke to him again.
Wow.
After the paternity suit, his brother once
that.
called me during the paternity suit and said, if you want something from Jackie, all you have to do is call, and he'll give you money. He'll give you everything you want. And I did call, and Jill answered the phone and hung up. So I had a child to support. So that's when
Jill answered, were you like, oh, is Jackie there? It's Bill.
We'll try that next time. Is Jill still alive?
Yeah, she
As far
is,
as I
dude.
know,
Does
she
she
is.
live in New York?
If we just prank called Jill during the show.
She's gonna magically warp here, and I don't want that.
I mean, we're gonna be obsessed with her after this show.
we are.
I know.
The cult is already forming.
Funny, she gets like all these followers from the show.
Yeah.
Now you
Joe fan club.
so you went from Ginger, a relationship with this 60 man in his 60s that was like a murderer mafioso guy, and then you went to Florida. Your mom was like, "I'm coming too," by the way, and you're like, "All right, I'm already on my way." So you come, and then you meet Jackie, date for 10 years. 10 years is a significant
Right.
time.
And she was born at the end.
And at the end of that
right.
10 year, that
Right.
you're like tenure with him, and then how did you meet Manny?
Well, actually, I was doing a play, and I saw him singing, and I said, "Do you want to be in a play?"
Oh,
You just saw him singing like around the city or in Florida?
In Florida.
Yeah,
in Florida. But I don't really want to talk about it.
Oh, got it.
Okay, because he's actually a man of the cloth, so I don't want to talk.
Oh, all right.
Nice.
Wow.
Okay.
You're the most interesting story.
yeah, you got
So many layers. All right.
the movie rights.
I don't mean a loincloth either.
Yeah. But if you did, we wouldn't be surprised.
No,
We would say that's Jen.
Ginge, you crazy.
So how were there more interactions that you end up having with your dad over time after that last one you just talked about, the yelling one in the diner?
No, that was it. After
was it.
that, I decided like even if I see him at the diner, I'm just gonna like forget it.
Yeah, because it's like, why am I barking up this tree? Like the tree doesn't want me here.
Yeah, and
And it's
came
his
to terms-
loss.
Thanks, but
It is.
thanks, but that's sweet. But thank you. But I was just like, like fuck it. After a while,
Yeah.
like a man. Like after you try with a man, you have to say fuck it.
Yeah, that hope is intoxicating. And then you're like, you know what? This is more intoxicating meeting somebody else or like, moving on.
Right.
Yeah, because you seem like you've really you seem like you're like good with it, but do you feel like it's like affected your relationships with men or?
I'm sure it has.
Yeah.
I'm sure it has. You know, I've never gone to therapy for it. I probably should have. Like, I could still.
Yeah.
You've never been to therapy?
Not really.
Awesome.
Oh, you know a good one?
Oh, I know several. Have you been to therapy?
No,
the
I
best.
have my own therapy, but if you know a good one,
Yeah, I do. It's there's a bunch of good ones. Therapy is, it's because for me, I always like, I came to therapy where I'm like, why am I behaving this way? And like, not, but is there things about yourself that you still don't understand?
Yeah, I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
You know, Yeah.
Well, I think as comedians, a lot of times we use our comedy to explore it, but maybe like we're not exploring it in all the ways. I'm not necessarily one of those people who's like, everyone should be in therapy. But my manager said, and the reason I started going to therapy was because of the entertainment business. And my manager was like, yeah, I think anyone in the entertainment business kind of needs the support of a therapist. Because every week when I'm talking to I don't think of myself as having like a particularly like hard or bad life. I feel very grateful. But then when you see a therapist taking in what you tell them week after week, and
why are you making that
the
face?
eye reactions, I feel like I started to realize like kind of what an absurd existence the entertainment business is. And like she commented, she's like so much happens in a week of your life. Like there's just so many more things that happen than in a, regular person's life. I feel like I have like just like 18 TV shows worth of updates for her every time I talk to her. And I don't even go every week. I go like I go every other week. But at times I've gone every week, but not anymore.
I feel sometimes I wonder, would I have done this over? Deprived her of a father. Because I know, like right away you said, I'm never going to marry you. You said that when I was pregnant, and I'm thinking, did I do the right thing? And I wonder, because I feel like I deprived her, and then she has to live her whole life knowing this guy is not talking to her, not being kind to her, and yet, people. Not everybody's going to have a mother, a father, and a white picket fence.
And people who have both the mother and the father in the house, it's not always rosy and sunny. Like some people's parents are manipulative. They're narcissistic. They have a severe mental illness that they have not addressed. Sure. And so it's like every family situation is so a case by case basis. And it really seems like I grew up in a household with both parents, mother severely mentally ill, father emotionally checked out. So, and I'm still fucked up. I'm so fucked up.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm getting non fucked up over time once I realize it. But like I had both parents and it was not a good time. It was very awful. So there were good times, but like it seems like you grew up with a lot of love between your mother and your grandmother.
Yeah, because you two are very close.
And I love her.
Needs.
I love her to pieces. I just,
you guys are. She talks about you a lot. I feel like you have a very like close relationship.
Well, she talks about what a whore I am in her act.
Oh, I missed that. Is that some of the new material? I don't know if I saw that.
Old.
You mean fun, Sheba? You mean fun?
No, I have this joke about how like she always acts like she's so young. I'm so young until I need a tiny favor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a joke.
I think I've heard that. Yeah.
And it's like, how all jokes are, a lot of them are exaggerations.
You exaggerate. Yeah. I learned that about 5 years into comedy.
Do you run them by your mom before you tell them if you're writing her a joke about her or no?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I will. Have you ever really bad?
Yeah, I usually don't. I mean, I feel like I kind of rule of thumb is like I don't run them by before I say them, but like if they're gonna see them, I go. Well, I mean, if they're gonna see them, I kind of just don't tell them. But I don't have any like crazy jokes about my family. I guess
I do.
I think my mom has seen all the ones I have about her. Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Well, so there. I think so. Did you feel like there's, I don't know, and this is going off of just like somebody who's biologically related to you. Like you feel like it feels, I mean, you had so many other layers in addition to that, but like when you're in his presence, do you feel like I would imagine it'd be hard to take like the reputation of who he is away from the fact that like he is biologically your father. Like I found out, speaking of family jokes, my uncle found out that my dad is not my biological father at a comedy show. And I'm like, oops, sorry. Forgot to tell you.
Your mom told you though, right?
Well, I found out for myself. They never told me.
23andMe, baby.
They never told me. And I was like, Mom, I took this 23andMe test and all these women are messaging me saying they're my half sibling. What's up with that? And she's like, ugh. I'm like, oh, word? But I met a sibling of mine, like a biological half sibling of mine, at RuPaul's Drag Con with Corinne. Whoa! And it felt, I felt something, and I'm like, I could only chalk it up to the fact that she was biologically related to me. I don't know, like it just felt like it's obviously
a connection,
just something.
That's interesting.
I could swear I did feel a connection, but I'm part
something
of me was
like
like,
the
do
same
I
DNA?
think I feel a connection?
Right.
Am I manufacturing that feeling, or is it real?
Right.
Yeah.
But like I've met like a famous person, but like I've met super famous people before, and I'm like, this feels but like there's that deeper layer when you have some DNA in common. I don't know. I just wondering if you.
I think I did. I mean, I definitely did. I feel that I felt that feeling that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That must have been wild for you.
Yeah. Life's crazy, man.
How old were you when you found out about your dad?
31.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Just 34. So it hasn't been a while.
There's a whole joke about it. Yeah.
Whoa, it's new.
Yeah. Yeah, life is wild, and you look back at so many things, and you're like, wow, like there's so many points in your story where I'm like, if one thing was off, the whole half would have been different. Like, that's crazy to me. I think about that all the time. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And so your Jackie passed away recently, around the same time that my dad passed away. Did you find out like in the newspaper? Did someone call you?
I was doing a show with Joe Mackey at a winery, and I got a text like, "Did you see this article?" That's how I found out.
Jesus.
And then
I was
the
worried about
texts
that,
were like pouring in.
Yeah.
And it was like text, and I didn't want to tell him because he was having such a nice show. So like, I went the whole car ride without telling him, like on the way home. And then he found out that I didn't tell him, and he was like, "How could you not tell me?"
Yeah, Joe Mackey's so sweet.
He's a
Come on, you could tell me that. Oh my God, I love Joe Mackey.
He's so sweet.
So how did the death of a parent, which is a very pivotal moment in a person's life, hit you, having not really had a relationship with him?
I'll tell you this: when I lost my grandma, I was devastated. You know, I felt way worse for you about your father than about my father. Let's just put it like that.
Corinne wins.
You did make that clear when I sent my condolences. Yes.
I said that to you.
Yeah, I mean, it made me laugh. You could feel however you want to feel. I'm curious.
You're so sweet.
I didn't feel much.
Yeah, no, I am truly curious because I know how it was for me, but my dad and I were very close.
Yeah.
And so I do wonder, you know, there are a lot of people who don't like their parents, aren't close to their parents, and I was truly curious about what that experience would be like for you.
I wasn't like, great, hey, he's dead. You know.
Yeah. Because some people are.
No, I don't feel revengeful at all.
Right. No, and I didn't think you would. Yeah.
No, but like I was a little disappointed because I did always hope for reconciliation.
Yeah.
And it kind of bothered me that, you know, like, because he was once so vivacious to see that. You know, like, you know, it was definitely like a little daunting.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like devastated.
Right.
You know, it was
How
it was sad, but not like. You know.
Yeah, you weren't like beside yourself.
Right.
Well, did you feel weird that like you weren't invited to like the services or?
Well, so I am friendly with his side of the family.
Okay.
Some people, like I have a really nice cousin on that side of the family.
Oh, nice.
And they're like, you know,
Kind.
religious and kind, and like I know their kids and they're really sweet and we visit
Yeah.
and
Oh,
stuff
that's
like
nice.
that.
Okay, that's good.
So I did that's the one that loves Ryan Long actually.
Oh, nice.
John Gross. Yeah. So,
Ryan Long, big with Orthodox Jews, we're finding out.
Yeah, Ryan.
So you know, he was like, well, you should do a Kaddish with my mother. So I did like a Kaddish, which is like, you know, prayer for.
Okay, cool.
So I did a prayer, and I felt a little something, but just not, you know, it was just kind of like, okay, I guess not in this lifetime. We're not going to reconcile ever.
Right, yeah.
The possibility is gone. The probability is over.
Have you ever been to a psychic or a medium like to talk about like past life stuff?
No.
Okay. I'd be like, there's some stories probably that you would both learn. Oh
I
my
know.
God, because of how cosmic elements of your stories are. Like, oh man. Chill, like just everything.
I know. Well, you wait for like they always say, like your dead relatives do something for you when they're dead.
A lot of times, yeah. Did he do anything? Well, how long ago? It was a year.
Yeah,
Almost, then, if
so
it's-
come on already.
Yeah, well,
Do something. You didn't do anything while you were alive. I'm not in the will at all.
And I think
Right.
I do sometimes hear stories about
Help me out.
dads who weren't there for their kids in the physical world, who then do actually connect with them a lot in the spiritual or from the spiritual world. I don't know. What was your reaction to Jackie's passing?
I actually, that night, the night of his passing, like the night before, for some reason, I just couldn't breathe. Like my chest hurt, and that never happened to me before. I really thought I was having a heart attack.
And she then found out that when he died, he couldn't breathe. She found that out.
I found out it was a respiratory issue.
Wow.
And I don't understand.
You guys definitely have so many past lives together, you and him.
We
I
do,
can tell.
but
I mean, it's just that type of like synchronicity.
right. There's definitely, I definitely tune into that. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's next for both of you?
Yeah.
Well, I got to change the end of the play. You know? Again, it's changing and never stays stable, is all. The elephant in the
Always
room.
evolving.
The elephant in the room. Did he or did he not put her in his will?
Yeah.
But you already gave the answer to that one, though.
Yeah.
So,
Oh man. Damn.
Yeah. And, she doesn't want me to talk about past lives, but
You can with that.
I've had past life regressions. I'm obsessed
sure
with
you
this.
have.
Brian Weiss, Dr. Brian Weiss. Many Lives, Many Masters will
Yeah.
change your opinion on it if you haven't read it yet. It is a profound concept, and it makes so much sense.
if you look at it from the big picture on this planet, okay, we have human souls. Our souls are not just human, but we've agreed to get this planet into
School.
ascension. It's a school. That's exactly right. And it's becoming more and more clear.
Yeah.
So with her and her father, in a former lifetime, and there were several, but in a former lifetime, she was a male, like a minor king. And he... Jackie worked in the stable, and he was
power dynamic shit.
and he was screwing around with one of her harem girls, his harem girls at the time, because it was a male, and she had him killed on the spot. So that's why in this
We did the Ouija board once. That's how she.
No,
found
but
it.
this is so interesting.
really?
Though. With everything I know about past lives, like that fuels his reaction to you at the diner. Like that's crazy. The cyclical nature of like the relationships, the emotions that exist between the two of you throughout. The
Right,
lives.
it definitely carries over. Although now with the new energy since 2012, things are different. You don't have to be a slave to karma anymore.
Right. Oh, that's good.
See, you seem to be really aware of that.
I've been told by many people I'm very, very psychic, and I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, there's certain things that have happened. Like I can hold an object of somebody's loved one who's passed away, and I could stuff just comes to me, and it's been correct. Yeah, I've tested it out before. There's a school in England that I really want to go to called the Arthur Findlay College, where you can, I'm
Great.
really, really into it.
Wow.
Right.
Are you like a healer? Do you do healing stuff, or do you?
I'm not a healer, but I'm really into that stuff. I constantly get like the visions and answers to questions and
Right.
things like that. But when you become too reliant on it, then it becomes a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, some of the movies came out like that. It just becomes too
You can
much.
get obsessed with it, and then you're not even living your real life because
That's
you're too
exactly-
like into this magic world.
That's exactly right. You can't get too obsessed with it. You have to keep it in balance. You have to live your life. You're here now on this planet. Do you believe in any of that, Corinne?
Yeah, I mean, psychics, not so. I mean, there's one person in particular. I've worked with like several. Believe me, I've tried all the stuff. Because I'm like truly like I was like practicing like Wicca like for real. Like in seventh
really?
grade. Like I have an altar in my house for real. Yeah.
Whoa.
So I'm into that, and so it's like I'm more into like the practice of witchcraft, but that's not like you're not dealing with anything otherworldly. It's just kind of a religion.
I'm trying to contact people.
I'm very into like tarot, but that's like because it's self-reliant. You know, you're just using your strengthening your own intuition through it. Psychics, past life. I had a past life regression too. It was interesting. I don't know if I believe in past lives in general and like connect. So as a general concept, how much I have personally connected to mine, I'm not sure.
Do you feel like your phenomenal success is due to any kind of feelings you had that were psychic? Did you follow intuitive flashes?
We both knew we were going to be famous.
Not flashes, but I just always knew I was like,
I did, yeah.
I just always like everyone, anyone who was like, oh, do you have a safety net? And I go, this is what I'm doing. Like it was never a question.
Wow.
And even the fact that you guys met, right? Like that's really special.
Yeah. And you can look back, like I wanted to intern at SNL so bad, and I was late to all these intern interviews except for the one in her company.
Wow.
It was the only intern interview that I didn't screw up, and that was the one I got. And I was like, okay, I'll do this. It was my first internship in New York. But I had a site when I went to Penn State my first year of college. Something happened. I loved that. I loved going there. And then something happened where someone said, you have to go to New York. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. And I dragged myself to New York because I knew that voice was right. And I wasn't even spiritual. I was just like, this is what I have to do.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Because I remember sitting with you long before now, and you were, you still look as young as you did back then, but it was a few years. You looked the same, except more, professional. And I was like amazed at your success. Like it's unbelievable. It's so fantastic that you did. And so I'm just always wondering, like you had to feel it, and you had to know, and you had to just go for it.
Yeah.
And I give you a lot of I just want to say, it's a fantastic thing that you did. You believed in it and you felt it, and it's wonderful. You know,
Yeah,
that's a new
she
energy.
had visions. When she came up with the idea for Guys We Fucked during a breakup, she kept coming back to me like, we got to do this. This is not leaving my head.
It was
keeps
gnawing,
popping up. Like, we have to.
It kept bothering you. It kept bothering you.
Yeah,
How
like I
to
had
go
it in my
for
phone, but I have a ton of ideas in my phone. They don't all
that
gnaw
one,
at me. Some of them are dumb.
Yeah, but this
This
idea
one gnawed at me,
her.
though, yeah.
I remember that very vividly going, okay, this is coming up to enough times where like, let's meet tomorrow.
Because normally we'll just pitch stuff back and forth, and then like most of it we're just
Falls through cracks,
you know, it's
yeah.
just like we're having a fun night, and then we just pitch something that's hilarious, and then we never think about it again.
Right.
You know?
Okay. I mean, so can I talk about a guy I fucked?
Yeah.
Before him?
Ginger, yes.
Before Jackie?
Oh my God, yeah.
Ginger, you're gonna might have to be on the show from now on.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know how much more time you have, but
For you all the time.
Yeah.
okay. So when I was in college, this has always fascinated her. So I thought maybe it'd fascinate you. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not. I don't
wanna
know.
hear.
This is long. You know, you've been there and done that. But
She was gonna have to really sign up for therapy after this.
I know her mother is not normal either. You know, so I mean, I'm aware of that. So. So it's just that I went to Spain when I was in college. Okay, we had one quick 10-day vacation. I went out with two guys. One was a bullfighter, and one was just an architect. And the bullfighter took it home with him. I felt like a bull in the bed. I mean, he handled
Like he was
me
running
like
from you and putting a cloth in your
he
head?
was handling me like he was like
Oh my God.
killing me. It was like really horrible.
Wait, can you get what'd he do?
He was
Push-
very rough.
Oh.
The roughest person I had ever
Oh my
been with
God.
in my entire life.
Uh-oh.
I said, Dios mío, no.
Yeah.
And then the other guy was such a gentleman. It was like the best I ever had. I was very young, never even had good sex, so it was like two complete opposites from the same country.
How was when you were blossoming sexually, how was women's sexuality treated?
It was like new. Pot was new. I mean, like, I'm not into that, but everybody was. And like, there'd be parties where they'd walk around nude. And I was a bit of a prude. I just didn't like that.
Yeah.
I just always have been a prude. I'm maybe the most prudish one in my family.
Yeah.
My mother used to she was so annoyed that I was a virgin at 16.
What?
Yeah, she was so annoyed. She said, you gotta go out and fuck somebody so you learn about life.
I mean, she wasn't wrong, but you were 16.
I know. And
Let me pass high school first.
Your
Mom.
family is incredible.
other people had milk and cookies when they came home. I had the diaphragm and a bottle of wine. My mother was wild. And she treated her the same way. She was her grandma.
Sheba, you're 12. Get out there and fuck. Come on.
So your grandma encouraged you to fuck?
Funny.
She was, I mean, yeah.
What?
Not that young, but she was.
Yeah, I think from knowing you, I did feel like you were always encouraged to date a lot, but I thought that I had just wrongly assumed that was coming from your mom. It was coming from your grandma. We find out though.
Yeah, she was. She was very
Wow. Well, but that's interesting to have a female matriarch person in your family
that's
and
funny.
push you towards sexual pleasure. My mom was like, you haven't had sex yet, have you? And I'm like, no.
Oh my
I would
God.
lie to her. She didn't find out about the podcast until years in because I was hiding it from her. So wow, that's so different. That's
My mom asked me if I had taken a good look at my vagina before the Sex and the City episode, so I feel like she was really progressive.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That
Yeah,
was
that's
progressive.
pretty progressive.
That's pretty progressive.
Look at your
Die
vaginas,
five.
guys.
Yeah.
Oh God, my mother was holding a banana. This is how you do it.
Wow.
When I was 16, she just was
Wow.
and I wasn't comfortable because I was not ready.
Right, because you weren't interested in that yet.
Yeah. It's just, it was a little bit much.
Yeah.
I love my mother.
Yeah.
And no one rests, so I'm not going to say rest in peace because no one rests there. But I'm just saying she was really pushy that way.
Have you had conversations with her after she passed?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever gotten resolve? Laura. Do you know Laura Lynn Jackson? She's an author. She's written Signs and the Light Between Us. She's a psychic medium. She's
No, but I'm
New York
gonna
Times
read it.
best-selling books. Two of the most eye-opening books I've ever read.
Laura Lynn Jackson.
Laura Lynn Jackson.
Okay.
One of the most eye-opening people, legit. You would love the Netflix docuseries Surviving Death. It goes into every single aspect of death, including past lives
one's
and
good.
reincarnation.
Cool.
And I'm so obsessed with this topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, did you have any reconciliation moments with your mom after she passed?
Definitely.
Cool.
Well, I mean, definitely.
That's really cool.
I would say it's constant.
Yeah. Wow, that's nice.
Constant. Right.
Yeah.
How about you, Sheba?
I dream about her.
Nice.
I do dream about her.
That's supposedly a part
that's
of them
communication.
communicating with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easier because you're in that trance state and your brain waves are such that you can kind of connect.
Right.
That's what I've read.
I often try to like have intuitive dreams. Like if I need an answer to a question, should I do this? Should I do that? I try to have intuitive dreams, and then I try to interpret the dream, and like, was this just a subconscious misfiring, or is this an answer to my question?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of times, like, you have to like almost like from my experience, you have to ask them for like a sign. It's like, I don't know that I mean, that's how it works for me. Like I'll ask for like a sign.
Really?
That's really specific. Like when you read Laura Lynn Jackson's book, she'll tell you all these stories about how I asked for a purple zebra, and then they drove by a diner days later, a week later, and the logo of the diner was a purple zebra. And they're like, wow, okay.
And that means like that the dream you had is like actually
it means that the loved one you're trying to communicate with, or your spirit or somebody, is saying hi.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's also like, even if you don't pick like the specific like sign, because I was like kind of like open to it, but not sure while my dad was dying. And then I was like, I guess I'll just find out. And then because I didn't know, I'm like, how will I know? And then afterwards, I was like, to me, it was like the first time I saw a sign, I was like very clear. Like I didn't even need to pick what the sign was.
It just felt right.
I just knew when that was the sign. And like, even when I see things that are related to it, I can tell the difference between one that's actually a sign and one that's just like coincidence.
Great.
But yeah, I have to like kind of like, strengthen that muscle.
Mm-hmm. I was told by a woman, the woman, she's talking about the one psychic that she's met. She's like, oh, that's legit. It's the same person. And she told me my biological father, who has since passed away, but I never met him. But she's like, oh, he's watching you. He watches you, whatever. And he's, if you ever want to talk to him. So I read Laura's book and I was like, oh, I want a sign. And for some reason it was a bee, like a bumblebee. And this morning, actually, I live on the 26th floor and I have a balcony. There was a giant bumblebee lounging on my chair on my balcony. And I all of a sudden, but this is the interesting part about it. I'm not looking for a bee all the time, but I don't know why I walked to my window. I don't usually do this. And I looked out and I'm like, I don't know why I'm looking out, and right at the bee. And I was like, oh, cool. So you kind of you might find that like, why am I turning to the left? Oh, there's a dime on the ground or something like that. So it's like these moments where whatever the sign is, you seem to like look up just at the right time.
That's right.
Can also be part of it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And it opens up this whole new world, but it is hard to not get so obsessed with it that you not lose yourself, but like it's really cool. But you got to think about other stuff and like pay bills and stuff.
Right.
Sorry.
All right. Well, where can we find you guys? This has been an incredible interview. We love you both.
Thanks.
What should we follow? What should we read? Where can we see your play? Follow you on social media? What are the things you want to promote?
Well, I have a couple of plays, the Jackie Mason musical, which is I'm meeting with somebody tonight, actually.
Nice.
The new incarnation of it, and a few more musicals. Mel Schwartz Sleeps with Mae West.
Yes.
King Solomon and his 700 wives,
Yes.
and his one transgender wife.
That's amazing. Yes.
All the hits. Yeah. I love this.
And you, darling?
For me, it's just social media, Sheba, SHEBA1E, Mason, MASON, ShebaMason.com. I run a cool show with the Three Monkeys that you guys have
I
both done.
love that show so much. How many days a week are you doing it now?
It's 7 nights a week, but I'm not physically there. But it's but I run it.
It's bumping every time. Like that was one of the great shows that came out of the pandemic was that show.
Thanks.
And then I love that it's still going because it's great venue, great location, packed every time.
Now
Thanks.
and your face is finally on there, demanding the
Do
credit
they
you deserve.
pay you money? Do they give you a free meal?
I got
Good.
I remember
That
you were.
pissed me off.
Yeah, I
They
remember
didn't
that.
give you a
Yeah,
free meal. You're doing a lot
you
of
were there
work.
before. You
Yeah.
got to come back.
Yeah,
She was
I
there
want
last
to.
week. Yeah,
She was a real business lady now.
You are.
and then I travel around and stuff like that. So just ShebaMason.com.
We'll check you out. Guys, thank you
Thanks.
so much. This has been Guys We Fucked, the anti-slut-shaming podcast. We'll talk to you next Friday. Bye.
But I remember this one time we went to a restaurant. The waitress gets all upset. She's angry. She's like, if you're going to share that, you're going to have to pay a sharing charge for $3. Is a $3 sharing charge. My mother has her own vocabulary. She says, well, really, I'm not sharing. I'm just going to be picking. I'm only picking. The waitress says, well, what's the difference between sharing and picking? My mother said, $3.